Hey there, welcome to Author Success Show. The special guest we have today is Fabienne Guichon Lindholm. Fabienne is the author of the book Unapologetically Bold. She is a seasoned global learning and development executive with over 3 decades of experience in coaching and motivating teams and individuals. Through her business, Fabienne Lindholm revs up your life. She helps professionals, especially women, to become confident leaders who drive positive change and transformation. As a renowned speaker, facilitator, and professional coach, she has dedicated her career to promoting wellness and education worldwide, sharing her knowledge on management styles, skincare, and well being. Before venturing into entrepreneurship, Fabienne led the global education department of a cosmetic company where she supported teams and professionals across the globe. Beyond her professional life, Fabienne has a passion for promoting wellness, traveling to 60 countries, and lecturing on 4 continents. Her unapologetically bold, optimistic, passionate, and funny personality has won over audiences worldwide. She has honed her discipline, resilience, and determination as a marathon runner, completing 5 marathons. Fluent in both French and English, Fabienne describes herself as self made. Hi, Fabienne. Welcome to Author Success Show.
Hello, thank you for having me in the Success Show. I'm excited.
It's such a pleasure to reconnect with you after we published your book last year, Fabienne. So I just wanted to begin by asking you this question. You have had, different levels of success at different times of your life. You've seen a lot of different things. So what I've noticed is most authors write a book after they've achieved a big milestone or after they've overcome a big failure. So what is the right time to write a book, according to you?
I think there is actually a right time. It has to feel right in your heart and in your head, I believe. I'm not big on writing something because of dramatic event. Actually, I do believe that it's doing something about life in general has to be done throughout life and don't want to wait until someone has, dramatic event to write a book. And I sometimes find a little kind of too strategic when people are, using a very specific component to decide, oh, I'm going to write a book or I'm going to do something about my life. So I like things that needs to be done throughout life, but it has to be feeling right in your heart. I think it's
Mhm.
right, head, heart, guts, kind of.
Right. I think that's such a nice way of looking at it because sometimes our head will say that, a conference is coming up in the next 3 months and I need to have a book before that. And some people act upon that. But I think the best way is when you're completely aligned and it just pushes you to take action and make you write a book. Right. So what exactly happened in your life around the time that you wanted to write your book? Did you always wanted to write and you kept procrastinating, or there was like this one big aha moment for you?
I always wanted to write this book. It was in my head, but every time I even took a pen or got the computer out and started writing, I felt like I wasn't ready quite yet, that I needed to wait. And so it was, many, many time where I was, okay, I'm ready. And then I would start the process and find out, and I wasn't ready, that there was either component that were missing or I wasn't able to express exactly what I wanted. I didn't feel completely connected to it. So I would put it down and say, okay, this is just not the right time now. I have to wait and I have to wait. And I had many, many people telling me also every time I would talk about my personal and professional life, many people would say to me in the industry I'm from, which is, wellness and beauty and cosmetic and spa, you have to write a book on how you get there. And I was like, yeah, yeah, okay, I will, but just not now. I feel like I need to feel completely centered in order to send something out that would actually make sense.
Mhm. Sure. So once you felt that it was the right time and you started the process, how was the writing journey like for you? Because one biggest takeaway from your book is the transformation cycle. So I was
Yeah.
curious to know, while writing the book, did you come up with the transformation cycle, or was it already a part of your coaching program that you just utilized for the book?
So it was certainly a puzzle. It's taking little pieces here and there. And so I think the whole concept of the transformation cycle came to me once during COVID. And it was like, okay, I think this is what the structure of my book needs to be. And not only just that, but it was like, this is the structure of how I see transformation and coaching and development in general. But before, I couldn't put it into these terms. They were pieces of things and components, whether it was coaching or training or mentoring, they were all pieces of concepts, but they were not inside an actual process. And
Mhm.
so once I came with these words, I was like, okay, regroup, relive, remotion. These are really how I've been functioning all my life and how I have actually been coaching people. And so I was like, okay, now I see kind of that foundation of that structure. And now all of my kind of life is going into that structure. But it took me a while. And I remember when I came up with these words. I was actually in our country house in France, in Le Jura, it's a small, tiny little mountains from not very far from Geneva. And I was sitting on the couch. There was the fire going on, and of course, it was in the middle of COVID, so we were just only family together.
Mhm.
And all of a sudden, these words came along, and it was kind of the aha moment of putting everything into this structure, this
Mhm.
architecture that would allow me to make it less complex
Yeah.
and easier for people to digest. Because
Mm.
that things that was it's often the issue when you're writing a book and you have a concept or a philosophy or something that you want to use, we tend to overcomplicate everything.
Yeah.
And we tend to take things that can be simple and needs to be, too complex. So it was really easy for me then to see how I was going to demystify a little bit transformation and coaching in my, and kind of in the way of seeing it.
Mm. I think there's a huge takeaway for everyone who is listening to you right now, because many people have this goal of becoming an author someday. But the moment you have a structure, a kind of a template or a framework, it becomes a lot easier, because now you're able to put your thoughts in a way that is easy for the reader to understand and retain. And I love the way you started the three steps with the phrase like regroup, relive, and remotion. Start with an R. So it's so easy to remember. I think it's such a nice thing that you've done, and it makes the whole process easy, not just for you as the author, but also for the reader. Coming back to your coaching, Fabienne, uh, this is a goal that many people have, which you have already accomplished, which is to have a flourishing speaking career, to be a successful coach, and also to be a best-selling author. And most people get confused because they feel that, oh my God, I just have one of this. When am I going to do the other two? So is there a right order in which one should pursue these three, parallel careers?
Okay, so I think it really depends on the person and on what anyone wants to achieve. For me, I kind of started wanting to do the keynote speaking and realized that it was not going to stick if I didn't have enough kind of components to show people. So that's when actually I felt like, I need to do something where people are going to take me seriously. Yes, I've done a lot in my professional life, and in my network, I'm very well respected and people know me. But outside of my network, it's like, who is she? I don't know who she is. And so it was like, okay, I need to kind of reverse things around. And that's where I felt like the book was going to be possibly the first step to enrich and kind of bring that authority outside of my network.
Right.
Because in my network, no problem, speaking, workshop and coaching, the book maybe would have not been necessary. But the outside of my network, absolutely. And I think the book is probably the first step. So, but then you have to have your concepts. You need to have your philosophy in place. You need to have your thoughts, your heart, as I said, heart, gut, and soul together in order to come up. And then, then the rest will follow. But I think it's one of the component that is creating that foundation for an author or for someone who wants to go out there and get to be known. But I really believe it's so individual.
Yeah.
Whether it's coaching first, keynotes, book, keynote, coaching, or I look at it as a triangle, and all of them needs to be together at one point. And you can't be going out and being an authority if you don't have all three, in the case of me.
Yeah, what you're saying makes sense because no two authors are the same or no two coaches are the same. And maybe what drives you at this point of time, maybe to build your speaking career first. And a year later, you realize that on every stage they're asking you for your book, and then you pursue that. So it depends on, what season of life you are in and so many other things. But as you rightly said, these are like three, parts of a triangle, and it's nice to have all of them in your kitty.
Yeah, absolutely. And I really feel like you're right. I would actually go to speaking engagement and people would say, do you have anything that we can take home? And I was like, well, on my website, there's some blogs and yes, there's a little things of that and we can do coaching. But that piece was certainly missing because then people would say, well, I want to take something home with me.
So how has it been after your book got published? Now, how do you answer that question when people want to connect with you after your speaking engagement?
Well, it's quite easy now. It's like, oh, of course, you can stay with me. I can be with you. I can help you with your transformation process, through the book Unapologetically Bold. I can, be there for you. And of course, then there's the workshops now and the coaching. So it's a really good way to, to fulfill that demand. But for me, it's been an amazing journey on every time I say, and I'm introducing myself and I show that I'm an author, a published author, and that I have a book and I have a concept, it opens up doors that are so much more, I'd say, real than people say, oh, yeah, we'll talk. Yeah, we can talk later. This is more like, tell me more. It creates this, oh, what is it? Tell me more about what you do. How did you get there? So there's that curiosity piece that opens the door right away. And I have been taken more seriously, I guess, because of the book, or people have wanted to know more about what I do because of the book. So it's really has helped tremendously in moving forward into doing this actually full time, because previously I was doing that kind of on the side, beside my executive job as a learning and development executive director. And I realized that now I could actually do only this and go on my own and really focusing on what I feel is really me, what I feel my purpose is, and being able to give to the world. I mean, sometimes it sounds cheesy, you know, I'm here to make the world a better place, but
No,
I
not at
still use
all.
that.
Not at all. I feel
I
all of
just
us
felt,
have been doing it in our own ways. So yeah, please go ahead.
yeah. And so for me, it was like, okay, this is really allowing me to put 100% into
Mm,
what I truly want to achieve for the next following 15 to 20 years. And I can put all my effort into it. And the book has been really an amazing foundation for me to create all sort of components that goes around that, because now not only have a structure and an architecture, I have pieces that are falling into the book and the transformation cycle. And I can describe myself as unapologetically bold. I
mhm.
can actually, that's part of my identity. So it's really brought up so many new components, and I've grown so much in the process
Right.
of course, writing and you know, launching, but even the after launch, I found that it's also make me hone in a little bit more on certain skill, and it also allows me to see where the growth is for me, for my clients,
Mhm.
for the people I inspired, and for my community. And that's really priceless, actually.
It's, it feels so fulfilling for me to know about this, because there are a lot of people who know what their higher purpose is, but because they have a full-time job or something else, they look at their purpose as something that they can do later on in life, or they do it part-time. But I'm so glad that as a result of the book, your doors have opened up and you're able to do so much more in the areas that you love, and that is such a gratifying thing.
Absolutely. Actually, so the book was published in September last year, and I gave my notice at work in April because I had a long, you know, process. And so I went on my own on November 1st. And
Mhm.
really, I always felt like the book was my launching pad, not only for launching a book, but it was launching a brand new life for me and launching a whole new professional concept out there and really understanding what deeply I am here to do. So it's
Mhm.
cool, very cool.
Amazing. So talking about your title, Unapologetically Bold, was it always in your mind that this needs to be the title? Because that seems to be the main theme of your life.
You know, I didn't really have a title. And actually, you and your team helped me out quite a bit on figuring it out. I knew I wanted to do something about confidence. I wanted to do something that was based on, yes, being able to stand up for yourself and not always saying, oh, I'm sorry. Oh, please. And I think that sometimes as women, we tend to always be sorry for everything when we're not supposed to be sorry. I mean, just be sorry for really what you truly is sorry about. And I think I wanted to show that even if you don't have a college degree, and that's part of the concept in the book, is that you can certainly be very, very successful and you can bring, you know, life forward. And so I really didn't have a specific word in mind. But when I explained that to you and your team, you came up with some great elements. And but the word bold was always part of me, because that is always when I describe myself. When people said to me, how do you describe yourself? I always say I'm bold.
Mhm.
I'm not cocky, I'm bold.
Yeah.
But bold can have gentleness inside. You can be bold and gentle. And I think it's kind of who I am. I've always also kind of described myself. There's a French way to say it is une main de fer dans un gant de velours. So it's a iron hand inside a velvet glove. And I've always felt like that was me, you know? And so the word bold for me was really connected to that.
Right.
And and being unapologetically was not something I came up on my own. And thank to you, team. It was really a nice teamwork of figuring this out.
Right. Do you use it now more often in your keynote topics and stuff?
All the time. That's all I
Okay,
use. That is
nice.
all I use. I'm actually writing a keynote here for the UK Spa Association in London for the summer, and I'm using Unapologetically Bold. It's always, yeah, I always use that as my foundation all the time now, and it feels right. It feels totally me, and it feels exactly how I want to describe myself and my work.
Great. So since you mentioned that beautiful line in French, it just made me wonder, did you ever think about writing the book in French first? Because I know English is not your first language, but your English is fantastic. I'm sure you learned it over the years and with the effort you must have put in when you probably first went to the US. So did it ever cross your mind that you should write your book in French, which comes more naturally, or did you always wanted to write it in English because of the global market?
So I never wanted to write this in French. And then there's a very, very specific reason. Although French is my native tongue, and of course it's natural to me, although anything that's professional tend to be really difficult for me in French. So I actually have, when I do keynote in French, I do need to rehearse. I don't have to rehearse in English, which is really funny. But I have discovered the reason why is because I spent most of my childhood all the way until I was about 23 in France. And in that period of time, of course, I became a young lady and I kind of created my identity. But I always say that, you know, my heart is very French. And then I moved to the US and I created my whole professional identity in English. And I also say my head is American. So for me, writing in English is so much easier than writing in French.
Right.
I can express myself so much better in English than, especially when it comes down to this kind of the feeling and the confidence, because I learned most all of that in an English speaking country and with English speaking thoughts in my head. So it was so much easier. Although now I have so many people said to me, when is that book coming out in French? And I'm like, yeah, we'll need to translate that, but it just doesn't feel, it doesn't feel natural in this particular subject. So it's kind of funny because yes, I wrote a book in my second language, and I always tell people that want to write a book and say, you know what, if I was able to write a book in a second language, you can write a book too. Get that imposter syndrome out and just do it.
So true. I think it's just all in the mind. And the idea you said makes sense that, we need to write in a language that we are comfortable in, and later the book can always get translated. We've had a similar client. She is from Switzerland, and she wrote her book in English. And later, now she got her book translated in German, and we published that too. So it is possible. It's just that putting out the manuscript, writing it for the first time is the most difficult part, but translating it in any number of languages is much easier after it's done for the first time.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. And it's on my list of translating in French. I have way too many people bugging me, including my parents, because they don't speak English. And they're like, well, it's great, this book, we can't even read it.
Yeah, it looks great, but we don't know what it says.
Exactly.
Yeah. So talking about, your adventures over the years, I noticed that whenever we used to have calls, every time we would check with you, where are you talking from? Because you would be talking from different countries. And then when I saw your bio, I realized you've been to more than 60 countries around the world. So is it your passion for travel that made you a speaker, or is it just a side benefit of being a speaker? Or do you actually plan that, okay, this year I need to visit these 3 new countries and then book speaking engagements there? How do you plan all of that?
No, actually, it's speaking that it's the additional little component where you can go somewhere. For me, speaking, I find it extremely rewarding, and I would speak anywhere. It can be a group of 10 people with my community down the street, or 200 people wherever that is. And so I think for me, I do speaking for the love of speaking. I do speaking for the love of inspiring people, for the love of planting that little seed that maybe is going to spark a thought process where someone is going to say, yes, I can do this too. And so that's what it is. And then if the speaking is somewhere super cool, that's amazing.
Right.
But if it's not, it's not. Of course, it's fun. And it allows also, I think, for me, I like it because I discover culture and I love understanding other people's culture. I believe that it's our heritage. And so wherever you are, there's always going to be something that's connected to the heritage of the country, of the culture, of whatever is happening there. And I totally thrive on learning more about human being, really. I think I just
Yeah.
love humans in general. And I just want to learn more. So yeah, going to a place I've never been is something that is very exciting, because then I'm all of a sudden I'm going to be discovering a new
Yeah.
group of people, a new culture, and then digging a little bit deeper. For example, I've been to China many times, and every time I go there, I learn something else, and I found it so exciting of understanding the culture of the people and how do I change my mindset to really connect with them and really understand deeply how they work, so I can be kind of a chameleon, and I can be part of that. And that's what I love about traveling. It's more the culture. So it's a little bit the cherry on the cake that you're speaking.
Amazing. So my takeaway from what you said is that if we are truly passionate about what we do and this service that we want to do, it doesn't matter if 5 people are listening or 5,000. We just do it with our complete heart in it. And as a side benefit, you may enjoy a lot of other perks.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. It's truly that.
Great. Fantastic, Fabienne. It's been amazing having this conversation with you. Where can people find out more about you and follow you?
Okay, so there's plenty of places. Of course, there's my website, so it's fabiennegl.com. I'm on Instagram also, and that's fabienne.g.l. I'm on Facebook too as Fabienne Keynote Speakers, Fabienne Lindholm Keynote Speakers. On Thread also. Thread is connected to Instagram anyway, so it's fabienne.g.l. LinkedIn, also, that's definitely, it's easy to find me, Fabienne Guichon Lindholm. So I'm on many different platforms to connect with me, whether it's just for a small, text, or even a long conversation. Of course, there's email address, but these social media platforms are probably the best way to contact me.
Sure. We are going to have all the links down below in the show
Yeah.
notes. So thank you so much once again, Fabienne, for being on Author Success Show.
Thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure to see you again.
Thank you.